But I'm real excited right now to be joined by our next guest. He's one of the terrific coaches in college football. Two-time MAC Coach of the Year. And, of course, he was the coach of Quinyon Mitchell, the Eagles' first-round pick. And he very close with Nick Sirianni. In fact, he played at Mount Union with Nick. So looking forward to talking to Jason Candle, head coach, Toledo Rockets. What do you say, Jason? How are you, buddy?
Good morning. How we doing?
Very good. Very well. Very well. Thanks for joining us. You run an amazing program. I know, listen, you probably do a lot of recruiting in our area. It's a great football area. And you guys, what you have established at Toledo, you get your guys ready for the NFL. You run a terrific program. Just want to tell you that.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, obviously you're only as good as the people around you and the players that you have. And man, oh man, we've been fortunate to have some really good ones. And the city of Philadelphia is getting a really good one here that they just picked in the first round the other night. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to watch his growth and his development under what I think is a tremendous organization and a great staff.
Yeah, could you tell us about Quinyon a little bit and you know how you saw him develop over his time with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Q always had, extreme measurables, 6-foot corner, that could really, I mean, he's 4'4" out of high school and strength really improved here. I mean, he's 225, 20 plus times on the bench. And that's kind of a rare combination for, the measurables of what it looks like. But, what I would say is not a highly recruited guy coming out of high school, but, and as I've said before, I mean, this guy's a 5-star human being, though. This is a guy that, makes your team better from the character that he brings to the team, his work ethic each and every day, and how he goes about and how he approaches his business. A contagious work ethic and a guy like that you can always count on doing the right thing. So I think if you have a foundation like that, you combine that with elite physical skills, the sky's the limit of any level of football that you play. And we certainly benefited from all those things here at Toledo.
Well, Coach, I gotta tell you, the thing that stood out the most and all the talk about Q was from Nick Saban. So when Nick Saban's saying that he's expecting him to enter the portal, and he's like, he was our number one target, and he does not enter the portal. In fact, he wants to stay loyal to you and Toledo. And to me, I mean, that's all I had to know about the kid and just how loyal and you talk about 5-star human. I thought that was kind of spoke volumes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this guy is raised by two incredible women, his mom and his grandma, who are very influential in his life. And, they've kept this guy grounded from day one. And, that's not a common thing in today's world with young people. I mean, it's really hard for them to stay grounded. And in most cases, it's not their fault. But this guy has always been able to keep the main thing. He's always been able to keep, moving in the right direction and not really worrying about lots of kids think globally and think what it could be. And, all of these things that sometimes are real, sometimes aren't. I mean, that guy's always thinking locally. He's always where his feet are. The loyalty you mentioned, I mean, that's a testament to the people in the building. And, I get the credit for that sometimes, but really it has nothing to do with me. It's about the fabric of our team and the friendships and the relationships he's made here. And, when things get hard and, there's critical moments in a football game, trust is the number one thing that I think pushes you over the hump. And he's got great trust in his teammates and they have great trust in him. And he was not ready to fracture that, no matter, what it looked like or who came calling. And for that, you take your hat off to the kid because like I said, that's not a common thing in today's world.
Did you wonder? I mean, I'm sure deep down, were you questioning like, am I going to lose him?
Well, I mean, tampering goes on all over college football. I mean, there's guys getting recruited off your roster right now. I mean, that's the world we live in. So, all I can do is have honest conversations with our players and make sure that we understand, what it looks like for these guys going forward. I think that, before this ever NIL stuff and transfer portal stuff ever became part of college football, I mean, I always thought that, players were owed two things: an honest assessment of where they're at, and I think it's our job then to try to paint a clear picture of what it looks like for them. And in Q's case, that was, hey, you're an All-American here. You've already proven that. Your name is on a national stage. You had 4 interceptions in a game last year as a junior. You backed it up with a really good season. Your springtime was in the 4.3s. You're going to put yourself all the way up those draft boards. And from there, how far you want to take it will be up to you. And he really took that and ran with it. And, and obviously to be the first corner picked in the draft. I mean, that speaks volumes for the work that he put in.
Jason Kendall, head coach, Toledo Rockets, 2-time MAC Coach of the Year. Tell me about the first time you met Nick Sirianni.
Obviously teammates at Mount Union. I transferred in there. Nick, his brothers both played there. Nick is the third of three brothers that played at Mount. So, that name has been around there for a long time. His older brother, Mike, actually recruited me coming out of high school to go to Mount Union when he was coaching there. So I was familiar, but I think, what you see with Nick is what you get, very authentic. And, I appreciate that, and I want to know what the rules of engagement are, no matter who it is, what it is, right? So, what you see is what you get. A guy that really loves people and loves to be around and really loves the game of football and everything that goes with it. So, it's been fun to watch, and really, it's not a surprise that he's been a great fit for Philly.
And I can only imagine the conversations that you guys had, wide receivers, offense. I can only imagine those talks.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. He's one of the better ones, obviously, to ever come through there when it comes to excelling your career after sport. And just a really unique friendship and a lot of conversations that you can have organically that it's not picking up the phone and trying to sell or recommend somebody. I mean, he's heard about Quinyon Mitchell for years.
Yeah, no, I mean that's very cool. And of course, you know all about the Eagles and Howie and with that organization that's become really one of the class organizations of the NFL.
Well, first class. I mean, from top to bottom, right? I mean, just how they went about the draft process, how they went about everything, and really identifying who they want and who they wanted, and and I think again, for second, third year now in a row where a really strong draft class. Take my guy out of it, right? Like, look at all of the pieces that they've been able to to put together. And, they've come through our building quite a bit. And every person that has come through here has done a really first class job, from scouts all the way up to, to conversations with the head coach and conversations with Howie.
So I got to ask, because I love college football, right? We love it. And it's in such a state of change, right? Dramatic change. What do you see on the horizon? Like I was talking to Matt Rule, who's a dear friend, and we were talking about how it's like heading toward basically two conferences. It's wild. Like, what do you see in the future of this thing?
Well, I mean, obviously, we've got to continue to try to do a good job of making sure that the players are kept at the forefront of all decisions made, and what's best for them and their well-being, and then obviously from there try to put some structure around what's going on right now. I think a lot of things are moving in a crazy direction. What that looks like in the next 4 or 5 years may not look anything like what it'll look like in 10 years from now. But I think whether you're a young person, whether you're an adult here going through this as a coach, everybody wants structure. Everybody wants some type of formality to what it's going to look like. And man, oh man, like, to a certain extent, this is like going through the pandemic again. When you talk about, you're in a sense of, you're looking for consistency, but there is no consistency. So you almost have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's part of it. So there's a lot of smart people that'll get in rooms and make decisions that are way higher than my pay grade, and we go from there. And you can only, just like you tell your team, you can only control the things that you can control, and worrying about the things that you can't, I don't know what that gets you in today's world. So we're going to play by the rules of engagement that are out there, and do the best job we can to keep putting a great product on the field for Toledo.
And you have. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about Ohio football, what you've done at Toledo. It's just wild. The whole NIL portal, it's almost like you're operating in a perpetual state of free agency.
Well, you are, and it's funny because I think some things are directed towards being NFL like, so to speak, right? But everybody knows when there's periods to do things in NFL versus when there's not. And this is, as you mentioned, this is a year-round thing. So, you just do the best job you can, and you make sure you continue to make decisions based off of putting the players first and foremost, and and the organization, and try to stay as selfless in the process as you possibly can, because it's really easy to get frustrated on a personal level, but that's not going to win you any games, and that's not going to make your program any better.
So I want to ask you, so just selfishly speaking, I have two young boys who play football and youth football, and I'm curious because you're around it. You're recruiting all the time. The state of youth football, it's we talk about being in a wild situation. I mean, the spring leagues now popping up, which I think is too much, but I think you got to encapsulate it in the fall. But what when you're looking at youth football, advice for those kids, advice for the parents, what are you seeing?
Well, I got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old myself, so I know, whether it's gymnastics, it's dance, it's football, it's soccer, it's baseball, and it all overlaps, right? There's never a break. I still believe that when we start to get older and we start to get into middle school and high school, we are victims of robbing young people the opportunity to compete. Everybody needs a trainer. Everybody needs to be sports specific, and there's lots of stuff coming out now in Major League Baseball and all these other, professional sports of sport-specific injury. And I think there's some validity to some of that. So I'm not, my advice to parents would be, don't rob your children the opportunity to compete because it's about a scholarship in one particular thing. We've been giving out scholarships for 100 years, and kids used to play 3 sports all the time. And when you were the best player at your high school, you played football, you played basketball, you played baseball, and you did what's best because you knew you were only going to be 16, 17, or 18 years old one time. And I think these, just like in college football, sometimes the adults make it about the adults instead of the kids making it, instead of remaining, it being about the kids. And then I think my advice to the kids would be to, like I said, just understand where you're at, be where your feet are. Everybody wants to accelerate the process. Everybody wants to go to college a year early. Everybody wants to go to the NFL a year early. And then sometimes I think we race to regret. And I hate to look back and see kids that have regret that they didn't do a specific thing. And, compete, play, have fun, be a 16-year-old kid, be a 15-year-old kid. It only happens once, and there's probably a couple adults on this call right now that we'd like to go back to some of those years if we could do it, and we'd do it again in a second. So, have fun,
Amen.
Be where your feet are, and enjoy the moment, and enjoy the ride.
Amen, brother. You got that right, man. Sometimes I watch the kids and I go, wow, man, I wish they didn't have that equipment when we were growing up. Like, you go, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah,
it's actually the greatest part of fatherhood, and you appreciate this, is that you get to do all the fun stuff over again with your children.
Yeah, you go to these youth sporting events, and it's funny because you sit back and there's a couple coaches coaching my son's football team, and they're like, "Coach, can you help us with I'm like, whoa, no, I'm sitting over here and I'm going to be quiet and I'm watching, but I'm going to pretend like I'm not and be on my phone here for a minute. But don't bring me into this.
I'm dad. All right, just leave me
absolutely.
Yeah. I got to tell you, you're a pleasure, man. You're a terrific coach, and you've built an amazing program. And I wish you the best of luck, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you so much for having me on. Thanks for all you do for college sports, pro sports, and sending the message out there of all the good that we do.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, Jace.
We all silly like the mayor.